You're live on the news review on the AM show. Thank you for staying. We're joined by energy analyst Geopolitical. Mr. Poku, a very good morning to you. All right, we'll try to reconnect with Geopolitical and take it from there. Some questions on my mind, though, on the back of yesterday's announcement per the finance minister and expectations in terms of an IMF program, specifically in respect of our debt exchange program. Now, the deadline was extended from the 22nd to the 30th of the month, but yesterday we also heard from organized labor, the TUC, Dr. Yao Ba there, the secretary or general secretary, saying that they are not going to budge and that they rather have given government an ultimatum. And if by the 27th day of this month there's no action, they're embarking on an indefinite strike. And we've seen other groupings under their umbrella also supporting this view. On my mind this morning, I'm wondering how this is going to pan out as far as our debt exchange program is concerned. And a very important point that is made is that organized labor should not suffer for the failure of the people in our financial system or the economic handlers of our country. What is your take? Share with us via our live stream on social media. Shortly, we'll be joined by Geopolitical, who will also be sharing his thoughts on same. But let's get into the papers now. Mr. Poku.
I'm here. Good morning.
Great. Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I was just talking, I don't know whether you heard me, about yesterday, the finance minister telling us about a number of things, the state of our economy, but also getting into the debt exchange program. And then the talk by organized labor, the TUC, making it clear, we are not going to tolerate this. As far as our pension funds are concerned, leave out our pension funds. We don't want to hear any talk about a debt exchange as far as our pension funds are concerned. And they make the point, don't inflict pain on us for someone's failure to handle our economy. Politicians fail and we bear the brunt of it. We are not going to tolerate that anymore. And while we know that the deadline for the debt exchange program has been, postponed from the 22nd to the 30th, they are saying on the 27th, they're embarking on an industrial action if they don't hear anything positive from government. Quick take?
Well, yeah, Ben, me and you have gone over.
We've had this discussion, but I want to know what you think as of now, because they are digging their heels in.
I don't see how the labor unions feel that they will be affected. I don't see it. And honestly, it's just them being disingenuous with information, or they are just basically trying to say that, look, we are going to go on strike because we don't like government. Yes, look, let me make this and put it on record.
But that point you make, maybe we're going to go on strike because we don't like government. Each government that comes in often has issues, but they've been clear. They've made it clear that this is not political.
Ben,
it's just in the interest of their and Kojo, maybe there's something we're not seeing. Maybe there's something you are not seeing, because if you listen to them,
Ben, how is it that they see something that we don't see? Look, I'm telling you on record, and I'm telling you for a fact, the labor union should come and tell us how does the debt exchange affect them personally, individually, or as labor? How does it affect them? Look, the only thing that's going to happen is that if there is going to be 700 million in the pension pot, there's now going to be, say, 500 million in the pension pot. When it's time for you to pension, every person in this country will get their pension. The Senate is government, so it is really a pension fund run by government. How many times have we been in this country when we've seen billions of Senate money abused in wrong investment? Did they go on strike? I don't get this strike thing. And if you look at the usual suspects who are striking, Tewu, Nagrat, all these are people who just came back from strike. So it tells you that some people are just happy to just go on strike. But let me make a very important
I don't think they're going to be happy with that assertion that some groups or people are just happy to go on strike. I don't think that. I don't know whether that's a fair statement to make.
Look, I'm Geopolitical. I'm on record to basically call them out. Okay, and teacher unions, I've had engagements with some of them that say that, look, Mr. Poku, you are being fair on us because, yes, I agree. Some of the things they go on strike for, government is at fault because government is supposed to provide the tools they need to do the work they're supposed to do. But when you are like GMA, Ghana Medical Association, what is your business going on strike? You understand? So are you telling me that you have an oath that says that you have to make sure that people survive, and because government is doing something that has no bearing on your life? Because look, if somebody can tell me that when they go on pension, this is the calculation I have done, by the time I go on pension, I will not get my pension, then I will support that strike. But there's no such thing. So let me move on to the point I wanted to make. And this is on the finance minister's announcement yesterday. And there is something very fundamental, important to the announcement that everybody just didn't pick on and looked away. As a nation, we have defaulted on our bonds. We have not paid our bondholders. And that is going to haunt us for about 10 years down the line. Successive governments are going to be haunted. There is two different issues going on. The renegotiation and restructuring of our debt is one thing. But if you see the release, the letter that was released by the Ministry of Finance yesterday, it goes on to say that because of dire economic consequences and dire economic situation in the country, we are no longer going to pay our bondholders to save the economic situation in the country. Now, that goes to tell us why our cedi is appreciated. Because normally, government would have been in the market buying dollar to pay its interest on loans. Government has defaulted. So in the essence, government is not in the market buying any dollar. Now, people keep asking me, Mr. Poku, how come the dollar and the cedi is going up? Fundamental economics, demand and supply affect price. I don't know why everybody keep asking to make it look like there is a mystical reason why the cedi is appreciated. When there is demand for more dollar and there is less supply of that dollar, the cedi depreciates. When there is no demand for dollar and there is a lot of dollar in the system, the cedi appreciates. In December, there is a lot of inflow of foreigners bringing dollar into the system. A lot of companies are bringing in inflows to pay their end-of-year bonuses and all the obligations they have end of year. Then the third part, which we just been informed yesterday, we've always said that government of Ghana is the biggest consumer of forex in this country. Every year, the government consumes something like $4 billion just to service debt. A month is about $349 million. So in this month alone, because government has refused to service its debt, there is an excess of $349 million available to the banks. That is why the interbank rates are so low. So let's not make it look like it's by magical intervention or some policy that somebody has put in place that is bringing the cedi to appreciate.
And these points you're making have been made, which is why watchers of our economy also say that we shouldn't tickle ourselves and laugh and think that we're doing anything fantastic, because we're still practically where we were. It's just that some factors, the Christmas season, inflows, lower spending in this season, among a number of other factors, including what you're mentioning, are shoring up the cedi, and that the true tale of the tape would be found in the first quarter of next year, January, February, March. Then we'll see whether the cedi basically has stabilized. But just to move the conversation forward so we can get into the papers very quickly. If you listen to the finance minister, he says an unsuccessful IMF deal could cripple the economy. And that is tied to the debt exchange program. But just quickly to go back to what the TUC is saying. Quoting Dr. Yauban, he says, "We have analyzed the debt exchange program. And after a thorough analysis of the program," I don't know what details you have of the program, because even we don't have all the fine print on that. "We have analyzed the debt exchange program. And after a thorough analysis of the program and a very extensive discussion among the leadership of the TUC and our affiliates, our conclusion is very firm. And it is that the program will negatively affect the pension funds of our members and consequently their retirement income security. Already, pensions are low. And we would have thought that our government would do everything to protect the small pension we have. Instead, they are introducing a program inspired by the IMF to cut further pension income. Therefore, the Trades Union Congress and all its affiliates have decided that the pension funds of our members will not be part of the domestic debt exchange program. Where have they erred?
The bit where they said that government is cutting pension income. Government have not said it's pension income. Now
they have made this point
that the man said that government is going to cut pension income. That's not true.
They have made this point time and again. If it were not so, per what details they claim to have. No, hold on. Why would government not have come out? No, I just want an explanation. Why do you think government has not come out to give a firm explanation on this?
But government is giving them a firm explanation. As per the letter government put out there, what government is saying is that the pension fund invested in government bonds. Government is saying that as per the investments you made with me, we've seen one letter, and that's the only letter they have. I am not going to pay any interest on your bond next year. I'm going to give you 5% the subsequent year, 10% the following year, and then 10% to maturity. That's all the documents everybody have. The principal, government is not saying that the principal you gave me is lost. No.
Indeed, I don't think anyone is talking about the principal. It is clear that the principals will be affected.
Where does he come in with the income? Hold on, Ben. But where does he come in? If you can put him on, how does he calculate pension income reduction per this announcement?
I get the point you're making, but their interest is going to be affected, and they have every right to speak about that.
Their interest is not going to, it's not their money, it's the pension fund's money. Look, me and you, every pension holder in this country.
You say the pension fund's money. The pension fund doesn't have any money. It is our money that is invested. It is our money that yields the interest that they have.
Hold on, Ben, let's explain something. When you pay pension, okay, you pay pension to tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Okay, it's not your money, it's our money. Everybody who pays pension money go into a pot. Now, when you retire, you apply to them, they calculate and they tell you how much you are due. Okay, so your money is a minute fraction of the pension fund's money.
No problem.
Hold on, Ben. They don't consult you how they invest your money. You only put your money with the pension fund. So how they invest it, their obligation to you is to pay you a certain pension at retirement. Nobody is saying that that is going to be defaulted.
Are you suggesting, Kojopoku, that because of the mechanisms of our pension systems, and mind you, when it comes to the TUC, we are talking of over 500,000 strong people, over 500,000. Are you saying that because of the mechanisms of our pension schemes, and yes, in fact, they make the investments and all of that, we don't have a say? Members of the TUC, for example, don't have a say on the matter?
When last did snakes consult TUC before they invested in the La Hotel, the Labadi Beach Hotel, La Palm Hotel, and all those investments that was made in the past that went down the drain? How many snake investments have we had that has basically yielded zero?
Two wrongs don't make a right. Two wrongs don't make a right. If something was wrong then.
Why? No, hold on. But they didn't strike then. Did they go on strike? My point is that pension funds don't consult you to invest your money. They don't. So why are you striking? Your obligation to the pension fund is that on retirement, you will get your money. And that obligation has not been broken. So I don't get the point where they are going on strike. And if this thing goes to court, the court will rule the strike illegal because they don't have any locus.
Well, we usually know how this goes, especially when government is concerned. But we'll see how it pans out. We'll see what happens on the 27th. That is the date they have given. That look, if you don't reach out to us and scrap this by the 27th, indefinite strike. But let me just ask you very quickly. Just give me a 20-second answer. What do you think? If government digs its heels in, and if the TUC does same, if both sides are intransigent, what is this going to mean? Because this debt exchange program, like Ken Oforiatta says, is crucial to the IMF program. What do we do?
Well, it's a condition subsequent. It's one of the conditions subsequent to the deal being approved by the board of the IMF. So we don't have an option not to approve it. If we don't approve it, then hey, what goes the weasel? That's the thing we need. But the thing is that what I'm saying to you is that the fund holders, the people holding your money, you and I, Senate, and all the pension fund holders, will go ahead and do it, regardless of you, the TUC, going on strike, because you don't own the pension. It's your pension in somebody's business. They would do the deal. So you can go on strike for all you want, but the pension fund, state will do the deal. State is government. So I don't see how state will not do the deal. The pension fund holders will do the deal. So you going on strike, then say that you don't want to work again. So the TEWU, the DAGRA, the GMA should tell us they don't want to work again. Because
I have heard, I am just curious. I don't know too much about that, but I have heard of people taking their pensions early or mechanisms that are possible for people to decide at some point that I want to take X sum of money and maybe I don't want to continue with this. I don't know what pertains in Ghana. But if that option were available and if people, the membership, and again, I keep referencing, over 500,000 people decided to jack up on the pension scheme, can you imagine what the effect would be if that were a possibility?
It's not a possibility, and that's why pension fund invest their money. We've had this conversation on this show. When you go to take your money early before maturity, there's a discount.
Of course, you'll be impacted. But some people would say if you're going to take up these percentages over time, I mean, it's a possibility.
No, it's not, because you've got pension. How do you get your pension? If you've got pension, how do you get your pension?
And the processes. I know people say that sometimes. I mean, okay, so I don't want to contribute anymore. I want a pension of you take your, it will be discounted and all of that. How would that impact the program?
If you don't want to contribute anymore, that's fine. Wait till you are 60, then you go and collect your money. That's what it says. You cannot at 50 say, I don't want to pay pension anymore, give me my pension money. It doesn't work like that.
Well, we'll see how this pans out and what options are available to them. It's said that if a blind man keeps saying he'll stone you, his leg probably is on something. So we'll see what the TUC will come up with.
What they are stoning, we all know what their leg is on. Their leg is on striking. The vulnerable will gonna go to the hospital. They will be not there. The students are gonna open school as usual. They don't want to go to the classroom. They will not be there. Listen, these strikes are becoming a bit too much money. We are just getting too used to it. They strike on fuel allowance. They strike on this allowance. They strike on every allowance you can think of. I'm not surprised they are striking on this thing that doesn't affect them. I mean, the strike is becoming a bit too many.
The Daily Graphic, danger looms, immediate action needed. Now, despite a notice warning of danger on a wire mesh protecting an ECG transformer around the 37 military hospital in Accra, these two women beggars and their children were found having a nap close to the transformer with their clothes hung on the wire mesh. I wish we could zoom so you would see them. How the women could use the wire mesh as a wardrobe to hang their clothes must be worrying to discerning citizens. It also gives an indication that our duty bearers must be up and doing to ward off such unauthorized behavior on our streets and medians. With Christmas just 5 days away and fast approaching, well, we can ill afford any such disasters. And that is the image right there. It's I don't get it. I don't get it. They are risking their lives and oh my word. Anyway,
because it's a lack of education. They don't know the harm that they can basically get into by being in that proximity. It's a lack of education. And for me, when I see things like this, I blame the assembly. Okay, our local assembly is just the most ineffective, nothing doing unit in this country. Because I can assure you that somebody from the assembly would have driven past that unit and would have seen them and not said anything.
Let's get into some other stories. Government suspends debt payments for consultations. So that story is on page 13. And the government has suspended temporarily the payment of selected external debts to entities that have lent money to the country. The category of debts include dollar-denominated bonds issued on the international market, that is specifically Eurobonds, the country's commercial term loans, and most of its bilateral debts and debts mostly granted by friendly countries to Ghana. It is to enable the government to again restructure the varied bonds and the commercial loans on the country's books, including those of state-owned enterprises, to make them more orderly and their servicing sustainable. A statement issued by the Ministry of Finance yesterday said holders of the affected debts would be engaged in due course in order to be presented restructuring proposals for their consideration. It, however, stressed that the suspension would not affect the repayment of multilateral debts, loans procured from large institutions that lend to countries such as the World Bank and the IMF, the AFDB, the European Development Bank, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and the United Nations Development Programme. But there are some who have said that this bodes ill for us because clearly we are defaulting on our debts. Any form of restructuring, at least in this sense, means that we are defaulting. And some economic watchers would also say it's been a pretty long time since we had to do something, anything close to this. Let me just chip in the story about unlicensed cybersecurity providers not being able to operate from January 2023, and then you can come in. So effective January next year, cybersecurity service providers, cybersecurity establishments, and cybersecurity professionals who fail to register and obtain licenses from the Cybersecurity Authority, that is the CSA, cannot provide services for any entity or individual. This came to light in a speech read on behalf of the Director General of the CSA, Albert Mpi Boesiapo. If you fall into that category, you know what to do before January. Quick reactions.
Well, if we've been following anything keenly, is there a monthly or quarterly issue of ratings from Moody's and Fitch and all the rating agencies around the world. For 2 years, they've started on this role of basically downgrading us where the outlook to defaults is high. And the response to government was to basically come and give a barrage of statements to say that the Moody's and the Fitch people are not being fair. This, even to the extent that the African Union now went and formed their own rating agency. Okay? Now, if everybody in this country have a stone, we should go and give it to the Moody's and Fitch people, because really and truly, whatever they predicted 2 years ago has now come to the cock has come to roost, or the rooster has come to roost. Is that how we say it, Ben?
The chickens have come home to roost.
the chicken has come home to roost. So now that is what we face. We basically defaulted, and in the coming days or months, Moody's and the rating agency is going to have a rating of D for Ghana for default of its obligation towards bondholders. It's sad that we've come this far. The writing was on the wall. We should have done something about it 2 years ago. Last year, we did it. Now, people are telling us to clap for the finance minister because he's gotten us a staff level agreement. This is the same finance minister who didn't want to go to IMF in the first place. So how do we clap for somebody who was dragged to a place that he didn't want to be and finally came out, and we should clap for him for what? I think the earlier the president relieved him of the post, all the things he said yesterday, I was listening to the statement that came out from the finance ministry. All the things that came out of the finance ministry yesterday, if it was coming out of a new finance minister, it would have been so refreshing. But looking at the man who's been there for 6 years and magically have all these ideas, my thinking is that, where from all these ideas? How come you've not implemented in the last 6 years? If you think these are the things that were going to save us, you've been there for 6 years. So, look, I think the president should just relieve Ghanaians of that burden and let Mr. Kenoferata retire or resign or be replaced peacefully. The cybersecurity thing, I think is a challenge. Cybersecurity is a big threat in the world. There are companies spending billions and billions to make sure they protect the identity. Now that we are looking at going digital for everything, it means that we want to go online, have a database of information, and this database of information is very valuable. So the NIA should have the experts to protect our data. If we don't have that, I think we should really take that serious and invest heavily in that.
Two positive stories. Road crashes, deaths reduced, but NRSA wants further improvement. And for the first time in decades, road crashes, deaths, and injuries have reduced consistently for 11 months. With barely a month to the end of the year, statistics from the National Road Safety Authority show that deaths from road crashes reduced by 18.2% from 2,654 in 2021 to 2,171 between January and November this year. Within the same period, road crashes reduced by 7.2% from 14,734 in 2021 to 13,675 this year. Additionally, there is a marginal improvement in the number of people who sustained injuries in road crashes, as 14,239 were injured this year compared with 14,393 in 2021. Pedestrian knockdowns also reduced by 9.6%. The other story I want to highlight, so we leave the daily graphic very quickly. Move to complete stalled projects. Get Fund pays contractors 667 million Ghana cedis. And the Ghana Education Trust Fund has settled outstanding debts owed contractors as of November this year, amounting to 667.79 million Ghana cedis. In all, 867 claims from contractors who have presented valid certificates of work were settled. The projects executed by the contractors included the construction of classrooms, dormitories, laboratories, administration blocks, dining halls, and hostel blocks. There's a further breakdown, but I'll leave it there. Quick reactions in some 30 seconds.
Like you rightfully said, some positive news. Reducing road debt goes to say that the government has done well in some construction of roads. Some bad roads are now good roads. Some narrow roads are made bigger. Some roads that didn't have signage now have signage. So those are some of the feathers in the back of the government. I think in terms of road construction, the government has done well. My only problem is that we basically embarked on it at the expense of the Treasury, where now we're basically having these financial challenges. But it's a good thing that we've done the signage, we've done the roads, and people in Ghana are seeing the benefit of having good roads. You have less accidents and stuff like that. Get Fund, again, a good thing that contractors are being paid. But I think even though this amount of money has been paid, there's more that needs to be done. There are a lot of contractors who are still waiting for their money, and it would be a good thing if government could do that again before Christmas, between now and Friday, so that some people who are looking for the small money they invested in doing a project to basically get their money back. I've always said this. Ghana seems to be the only place where you sweat to get a contract, you sweat to get it done, then you sweat to get paid. So at any stage of a contract, you are basically having to chase someone, which is very unfortunate. If we are to improve, the payment frequency for contractors, it would really do that uplift of personal income. Because if we want to empower Ghanaians and make Ghanaians move from that middle income to that upper income, we need to basically make sure that we do timely payment to contractors. That is very important.
Let's get into some quick stories. Some of them reflected already in the daily guide, so in the daily graphic, so I'll not get to them. But the Ghanaian Times will deploy efforts to protect livelihoods. Veep assures Ghanaians. A lot more talk. On page 5, though, Ramaphosa defies scandal to win ANC leadership. I found this interesting, especially because of what we keep saying about our leaders on the continent and the corruption, pervasive corruption, practically across the board. South Africa's scandal-hit president, Cyril Ramaphosa, has been elected or re-elected as the governing African National Congress leader to wild cheers from his supporters. He defeated his rival, Zweli Mkhize, by 2,476 votes to 1,897. Quick point, it basically means Cyril has scaled that hurdle and he will not be removed. The Daily Guide, 7 witnesses for Kaswa teen killers, and the Finder newspaper. Speaker leads MPs to pay glowing tribute to Professor Kwesi Boche. There's also Allen calls for strategic U.S. investment in African agri-business. Speaking of which, since we're talking of Allen, the U.S. and our president, I'm sure you heard Mr. President talk about Burkina Faso and the hornet's nest that has stirred. Quick reaction to that, and maybe anything else you want to react to in the stories I brought up.
Well, I personally wish he had it, because where he was sitting in front of the Mr. Blinken, the Secretary of State to the United States, and he made that statement, puts you in the middle of a conflict that is ongoing. I think the geopolitical conflict around the world, Ghana cannot afford to be in that conflict. Most countries, Saudi Arabia, Israel, all the big countries have stayed away from the US-Russia banter that's going on. And for me, it was very unfortunate for the president to make that statement. If there are mercenaries, and that's why you call them mercenaries, you did not say that there are Russian soldiers. If there were Russian soldiers in Burkina Faso, then we can all have a right to now say that, look, what are Russian soldiers doing? And even that, you have a discussion with the ECOWAS and see why there are Russians. But if you say there are Russian mercenaries, the right place of concern to air your grievances is with the Russians. Why are mercenaries from your country on my border? Okay? And you have that discussion, and if that doesn't augur well, you take it to a different level. There's always the UN and all these places that you can go and lodge a complaint, which makes it look very neutral. If you know, Switzerland is one of the most prosperous nations in the world. Switzerland doesn't have a military. There's a reason. They stay out of everybody's business. They just concentrate on work, commerce, and business. If, as a nation like Ghana, we start getting ourselves involved in these conversations at that level, it doesn't augur well for us. The world has basically gone back to the Cold War. And this time, the rift is very big. You have the East and the West, which has always been there. But now, fortunately or unfortunately, the East has more money than the West. So if you look at China, Russia, India, and the Arabs put together, they have more money than the West, which is basically Europe and America. So for me, it's better to stay in the middle and stay neutral, because you don't know whose friend is whose friend. Today, you are in the US, basically talking something about the Russians. You might want to go to a different country, and they might not take so happy to the statement because their friend, the Russians, you basically gone and said something about them. So I wish you would have stayed out of it. Let me put a quick in the Ramaphosa conversation. I am very biased when it comes to Cyril, okay? The way he speaks, every time I hear his voice, it just calms me down. And I don't even know why people...
Kojo, you're getting sentimental. You're getting sentimental about the issue.
No, but I'm telling you that the guy, look, he is just a leader that I aspire to be. Look, the way... I can't speak like that. If I was some...
But hopefully you don't aspire to keep, hundreds of thousands of dollars in a sofa on your ranch and allow people to come and steal it and get into this kind of sticky situation.
But honestly, these are allegations, Ben. These are allegations.
Allegations?
Let's give Ramaphosa the benefit of doubt.
Okay, we'll leave this there. We'll talk about this off air. Just to wrap the conversation, graphic business, debt payment suspension, it's wrong signal to investors, that's according to Professor John Gachi. And the government's decision to suspend the payment of some of its debt will send a wrong signal to the investor community, the Dean of the School of Business, University of Cape Coast, Professor John Gachi, has warned. He also noted that the move by the government did not make the country trustworthy. A development that could also negatively impact what could have been a positive omen after the country had secured an IMF bailout. Then Economy Times, Bank of Ghana blames CD depreciation on fiscal operations. Job scarcity increases for first 10 months of 2022. Job scarcity increases for first 10 months of 2022. And dollar to hit below 9 Ghana cedis soon as Ghana IMF reach agreement for $3 billion ECF. So maybe quick reactions to that in a minute and we're gone.
Well, a dollar to hit below 9, I thought it was. I mean, people keep sending out. The funny thing is that some people are actually going to forex bureaus and printing fake receipts and circulating it on social media as if it's going to make somebody panic and go and change their dollar. Okay, those that are, look, I honestly feel that there were a lot of people who didn't understand the space and because they were scared, bought dollars. Yes, those are people that will definitely, now that the money has moved up, they will go and change their money. But the millions of dollars sitting in people's accounts, those people are not going to blink because you think that, because they know they are in cahoots with some of these treasury managers in the banks. So they know what's going on. They even know before I heard what is going to happen because they are the same treasury managers who sold them the dollars. Now, in terms of what is going to happen going forward in terms of the default, it doesn't only affect government, it also affects private businesses. Because now when investors are now looking for countries to go into, most businesses also go to banks to now take loans to invest in other countries.
Right. Now,
if your country is not seen as a favorable destination in terms of low ratings, it's a problem. Remember about 2017, 2018, when the government will now tout the low ratings that we had that allow us for FDIs, foreign direct investment, allow us to go into the market and get cheap money. All that now is true now that you are the worst with the D. Okay, so now foreign direct investments would be shortcoming because investors will not have confidence in the country to invest, because if your country, which is the sovereign, has defaulted, then it is seen as the people within the country might also default because they might not get loans to come into the country and invest, or vice versa. So that is dire for our business also. 2023 is going to be a fishy year. I think we're going to go through 2023 very quiet. And I think, Ben, this is the last time I'm seeing you before Christmas. So let me wish you Merry Christmas and wish all our cherished viewers Merry Christmas for listening to us every week. And then the job security thing.
Just very quickly on that, we have to go.
Yeah, the job security thing is a problem because, again, government has frozen intake into government sector. Some of us are doing our best to basically help out. That's why we created that website. I'm going to launch it fully in January, and I think I would like Joy to partner me on that.
Thank you, Kojo. And just to add a thought that came to mind, when you're downgraded as a sovereign state, it also affects your financial institutions, your banks. And that is what some people don't get sometimes when the banks are also downgraded. As the country is downgraded, the banks are also downgraded, unfortunately.
Yes. But you've never said to me that, congratulations, Messi won the World Cup. He is now a GOAT. You never said that.
Which of the GOATs?
Let me hear you say
Pelé is still the GOAT. Maradona comes after him. For me, Cristiano Ronaldo before Messi. But you're entitled to your opinion, Kojo. This debate, I mean, anyone who knows football, who has watched Pelé and what he did. 3 World Cups versus what? Versus what again?
Ben, a quick one. It's so difficult for you to say that Messi is a GOAT.
Messi is a fantastic player. He is not the GOAT.
Just say Messi is a GOAT.
He is not. He's not the greatest of all time.
Okay. No problem.
Energy expert Kojo, I just love this man. Anyway, thank you for joining the conversation. Up next, we'll bring you sports, and I'll tell you what, Muftaho Nabila Abdullahi knows and admits that Messi is not the GOAT. He can come and defend himself if he likes. Sports up next.